Well, this is a mass that was held an hour ago in the Flores neighborhood of Buenos Aires. This is the church where the late Pope Francis first decided to become a priest. So, as the story goes, he was headed to a party when he felt drawn to confession, and he left inspired by the priest who welcomed him. The Vatican said Pope Francis died of stroke and heart failure at the age of 88. All throughout the day, we've been learning a lot about the life of Pope Francis, including his passion for football or soccer. He was an ardent supporter of San Lorenzo, a team from Buenos Aires. Today, Argentina's Football Association postponed all games to mourn the Pope's death. Santiago Bauzá joins us now. He's a freelance sports journalist with the Hand of Pod podcast. That is a fantastic name. We reached him today in Argentina's capital. So tell us, what have you been seeing and hearing on the streets of Argentina since the death of the Pope?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. What we've seen in the streets of Argentina has been an absolute outpour of love, I think, of remembrance and also a little bit of sadness, of course, which comes with the loss of such a monumental figure. I feel like that's the best way you can describe someone like Pope Francis. An Argentine probably has never held a position of power as important as this one in the history of this country. So I feel like this outpour of love and also comes with a sense of importance, the importance that Pope Francis had, not just for the Catholic Church, but also for Argentina, and how important he was as a world leader as well, in the sense that, well, of course, Argentines are always very much proud of the people who represent us in the world stage. And I feel like Pope Francis has been a key figure, and I feel like his loss is being very much felt in the people of Argentina at this moment.
Yeah, I think Canadians could really relate to that, because I think, like Argentina, in Canada, we are immensely proud of those Canadians who have an impact around the world. I'm curious what kind of impact the Pope had on his home country, on Argentina.
I mean, he was a very important figure even before, of course, being elected Pope. He was the Archbishop of Buenos Aires for a long time. He was a somewhat controversial figure as well, because he, despite the fact that he was very much an ardent Peronist, he clashed several times with then Peronist President Cristina Fernandez in the late 2000s, I think, which made him somewhat of a controversial figure right before he was elected Pope. However, I feel like when he was elected Pope, I feel like people began to feel and get a little bit more of a sense of just how important that was, and how much more important I think the bigger picture was. I feel like also Francis always had this sort of historic debt with the country, in the sense that he decided to never visit Argentina during his stint as Pope. Perhaps because he feared that if he did, the politicians and the partisan politics in Argentina would try to be too involved with him or try to collate him, which is something that he always sort of avoided, to be drawn into those sort of like petty disputes with partisan politics. And I feel like in the way that the people of Argentina have been, bidding farewell to him, I feel like that's been very much understood as just how transcendent he was, not just to Argentine politics, but also to Argentine society and to the image of Argentina in the world, I think.
Well, let's finish this conversation with something that is less partisan and less contentious, at least, and that is what we call soccer, what the rest of the world calls football. Tell us about the relationship he had with the sport.
I think the relationship that he had was very much the one of an average Argentine. The fact that he was absolutely mad for the sport. As you said, very eloquently, he was a die-hard supporter of San Lorenzo de Almagro, because he grew up near the area where they are based, in the neighborhood of Flores, as you said before. And there's also like stories of how he was interviewed by journalists from Argentina during his stint as a pope, and they were wowed by his memory and his recollection of like historic squads from the 1940s and his recollection of games from that era as well. There's also the fact that since he, of course, could not watch San Lorenzo games during his stint as pope, he had apparently a member of the Swiss Guard specifically designated to inform him of San Lorenzo results. And in fact, his papacy actually brought some luck to San Lorenzo in the sense that only a few months after he was elected pope, they won the National League championship in late 2013, and then they won their first ever Copa Libertadores, which is the equivalent of the Champions League in South America, for the first time in 2014, less than a little bit more than a year after he was elected pope. So there's this incredibly close relationship between him and the club as well. Of course, when they won both of these trophies, they brought the trophies to the Sixtine Chapel for him to appreciate as well. So I feel like that's always been a very close relationship. Of course, he was also very much recipient to so many gifts and visits from all sorts of important figures in the world of football, like Maradona, Pelé, Messi. He organized a Match for Peace in 2015 as well, attended by some of the best footballers in history at that time. So he was always a big proponent of the sport, a big fan of the sport, and he lived it very much like any other Argentine would, with extreme passion and with a lot of like outpour of love for the sport and for his team, San Lorenzo.
You've done a really nice job of giving us the Argentinian perspective on the late Pope. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much once again for inviting me.
Santiago Bauzá is a freelance sports journalist and the host of the Hand of Pod podcast.